Imagine you're sitting in a quiet Georgia town. You know, no police sirens, no yellow tape anywhere.
Just total peace and quiet.
Right, exactly. You think you are completely isolated in your own home.
Which most of us do.
Yeah. But a silent, invisible detective, literally just a string of code sitting on a server farm hundreds of miles away, just flagged your internet activity.
It's a terrifying thought.
It really is. And within a matter of weeks, that silent string of code is going to put you away for 5 consecutive lifetimes.
Yeah, the scale of that is just, it's hard to even comprehend.
Completely. But hey, before we dive into exactly how an artificial intelligence became the ultimate informant, I want to ask you to do us a huge favor. Hit that like button, subscribe, follow the show, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a deep dive.
Please do. It really helps out.
Also, I have a strictly 15-second update on the Martin Stevens versus OpenAI situation.
Oh, right, the legal update.
Yeah. So first, it is not a lawsuit. I am currently in a voluntary quiet period, which Stevens actually requested to idle public information while he hopes for a settlement.
Makes sense.
Right. And it is completely unknown if any progress or discussion is actually underway right now. But the dead man's switch is inactive, which means Stevens is physically and legally safe.
Well, that's definitely good news.
For sure. Okay, so let's unpack this. I was reading through some local Georgia archives recently.
What kind of archives?
Specifically, a collection of reports from the Eatonton Messenger and the Union Recorder.
Okay, good local sources.
Yeah, and I paired those with the Georgia Bureau of Investigation's statistical reports, some university legal definitions, and a really comprehensive Wikipedia breakdown of the sex offender registry.
That is quite the stack of sources.
It is. So our mission for this deep dive is to unpack the disturbing, but, critical case of Corey Hickey out of Putnam County, Georgia. We're going to examine not just his specific crimes, but the broader technological and legal machinery that catches, penalizes, and tracks these offenders for the rest of their lives.
It's a huge system.
It is. So starting with the catalyst, how does a local man in a quiet county get brought down by an international digital safety net?
Well, to understand the catalyst, we really have to look at the timeline.
Okay, lay it out for me.
So in October 2025, the GBI, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, sent their Child Exploitation and Computer Crimes Unit.
Wait, that's the CEACC, right?
Exactly, the CEACC. They sent them to the Twin Bridges Road area of Eatonton, and they arrested a 38-year-old man named Corey Andrew Hickey.
And the charges from that initial raid, they escalated incredibly fast.
They almost always do.
Yeah, the local reports show he was initially picked up on 2 counts of creating or possessing child sexual abuse material with the intent to distribute.
Which is already very serious.
Right. But the investigators didn't just stop at the hard drives. Within a couple of weeks, he was back in jail facing multiple additional charges, including rape.
Wow.
Yeah. The digital footprint was just like the surface layer of a massive physical reality of abuse.
And that rapid transition from digital possession to physical assault charges is a really well-documented pattern.
Really? That common?
Oh, absolutely. Digital material is very rarely isolated. It is usually an indicator of broader predatory behavior. Law enforcement knows this, which is why the initial trigger for the investigation is just so critical.
And that trigger is what completely blew my mind.
Tip line.
Yeah. I was reading the GBI press release, and it states that the investigation was initiated by a cyber tip line report from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children.
NCMEC.
Exactly, NCMEC. But here's where it gets really interesting. When I looked at the raw URLs of the local news sources, like the actual web addresses for the article, one of the slugs literally reads, chatgp-tip-georgia-man-life in prison-sexually abusing child.
Wow. So it's right there in the code.
Right. The URL slug is the quiet part being said out loud. It means an artificial intelligence, ChatGPT, flagged the illicit material and tipped off the authorities.
It's a remarkable shift in how investigations originate. We are so used to human informants or undercover officer.
Right, like standard detective work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But here, the entity recognizing the crime isn't human at all.
And I am just trying to wrap my head around the mechanics of that. When we say ChatGPT tipped them off, I know it's not a robot picking up a phone and calling the local sheriff.
No, definitely not.
So how does an automated piece of code flagging a file actually translate into a real-world raid by the GBI? Is it just scanning everything everyone types?
Well, think of ChatGPT's safety filter, less like a surveillance camera and more like an immune system in a human body.
Okay, an immune system. How so?
So OpenAI, like a lot of major tech companies, has built-in safety classifiers within their API.
Their application programming interface.
Right. The system isn't consciously reading your diary to look for a specific crime. Rather, it's trained to recognize the digital signature of illicit content.
Interesting.
If a user inputs prompts or attempts to upload or generate imagery that matches the signature of child sexual abuse material, the system automatically triggers an immune response.
So it recognizes the pathogen, so to speak, and generates a localized report.
Exactly, the mechanism. That automated report is immediately routed to NCMEC's centralized cyber tip line.
Okay, so NCMEC gets the ping.
Right. NCMEC then acts as the triage center. They verify the data and route it to the appropriate local jurisdiction. In Georgia, that data package lands right on the desk of the GBI's Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force.
The ICT.
Yes, ICT.
So the AI acts as the initial digital net, and the ICI task force is the physical boat that hauls it in and executes the search warrants.
That's a great analogy.
But why rely on the AI at all? Doesn't the GBI have teams dedicated to monitoring this stuff?
Consider the sheer volume of data being processed on the Internet every single second. Human law enforcement simply cannot monitor it all.
Just too much noise.
Way too much. The GBI openly noted that the ICXU program was developed entirely in response to the massive proliferation of this material and the increased online activity of predators.
Right.
If they relied solely on human eyes to stumble across these files, the vast majority of cases would just go undetected. They have to rely on automated systems to flag the material at the source.
So the digital net catches him. But when investigators actually pulled this thread, they didn't just find a first-time offender in 2025.
They found a history.
Exactly. They uncovered a paper trail of predatory escalation going back nearly a decade. Because when we dug into the local archives from the Union Recorder, we found a grand jury report from 2017.
8 years earlier.
8 years prior to this digital tripwire going off, Hickey was indicted for theft by shoplifting, and this is the crucial part, impersonating a law enforcement officer.
Yeah, that 2017 charge is a massive behavioral indicator.
I couldn't stop looking at that specific detail. There is a psychological through line here that just feels completely connected.
How do you mean?
Well, you have someone seeking unearned authority, right? Pretending to be a police officer. Someone who fundamentally wants to hold power over others.
Right. A desire for control.
And then, years later, that desire for power mutates into the ultimate abuse of power over the most vulnerable, defenseless people imaginable. Children.
It really highlights why we cannot view criminal offenses in a vacuum. Human behavior is cumulative.
Right.
The desire to dominate or manipulate, when left unchecked, often seeks out paths of lesser and lesser resistance. And a child represents the absolute path of least resistance for a predator.
And the legal system's response to that cumulative behavior was absolute.
It definitely was.
The sources reveal the final outcome for his 2025 crimes. The Putnam County man received 5 life sentences for repeated sexual assaults on a child.
5 life sentences.
Now, to understand the sheer weight of that, I looked at the Middle Georgia State University Annual Security Report. It does a really great job outlining the official code of Georgia annotated.
The OCGA.
Yes, the actual laws on the books. The punishments for rape and aggravated sodomy in Georgia are incredibly severe. They range from a split sentence of 25 years to life, up to life without parole, or even the death penalty.
Very strict.
But I am just stuck on the math of the sentencing. Like, why give someone 5 life sentences? He only has 1 life to live. Is the state just making a performative, symbolic point?
What's fascinating here is the underlying architectural logic of the justice system. It looks symbolic from the outside, for sure, but it is actually a purely pragmatic legal mechanism.
Pragmatic how?
Multiple life sentences act as an impenetrable fail-safe against the appeals process.
A fail-safe? How does that work in practice?
Well, in the appellate courts, convictions can sometimes be overturned on procedural technicalities.
Like a bad warrant.
Exactly. A judge might rule that a specific search warrant was too broad or a piece of evidence was mishandled in the chain of custody.
Oh, I see.
If a judge hands down a single overarching life sentence covering all the crimes concurrently, and a defense lawyer successfully appeals one critical element of that case,
The whole thing falls apart.
right, the entire conviction could crumble and the offender walks free.
Okay, I get it. By breaking the crimes into distinct consecutive charges, they isolate the risks.
That is the exact strategy. By applying a maximum sentence to each distinct charge consecutively, the state ensures that even if 1 or 2 legal locks are picked by an appellate lawyer down the road, the door stays shut.
Wow.
The remaining life sentence is keep the offender permanently removed from society. It is the physical manifestation of the state's zero-tolerance approach detailed in the OCGA codes.
It's essentially a legal quarantine. They are permanently sealing the individual away.
That's a good way to put it.
But, that realization raises a massive question for me. Corey Hickey received 5 life sentences, effectively ending his time in society. But what happens to the thousands of offenders who do get out?
The ones who re-enter.
Right. Who serve their time and then legally have to re-enter the community. That brings us to the aftermath and the everyday reality of the sex offender registry.
And the scale of that re-entry system is just staggering when you look at the raw data.
It is massive. We pulled the GBI's January 2026 statistical report. Their database total for the sex offender registry in Georgia alone is over 40,000 records.
That's over 8,000.
And it's not a static list. They are adding roughly 113 to 132 new records to that registry every single month.
And, Georgia's just one state operating within a uniquely American framework.
Uniquely American.
Yes. If we look at the Wikipedia source detailing the history of these registries, it traces back to the Jacob Wetterling Act and Megan's Law.
Right, I've heard of Megan's Law.
Those federal laws mandated the creation of public registries in the United States. And the U.S. is a global anomaly in this regard.
How so? Don't other countries track this?
They do track it, but the accessibility is completely different. Countries like Canada, the UK, and Australia maintain registries, but they're almost exclusively accessible only to law enforcement agencies.
Oh, wow.
The United States is the only country in the world that allows full, unrestricted public access to the sex offender registry.
Which means anyone with an internet connection can pull up a map of their neighborhood and see exactly who lives where.
Anyone.
And because the public has access, local municipalities have passed laws that create incredibly extreme daily consequences for the people on those lists.
Like what?
I was reading about Missouri. In Missouri, registered offenders are forced to completely alter their behavior on Halloween.
Oh, right.
The law mandates they turn off all outside residential lighting, stay inside their homes from 5 p.m. to 10:30 p.m., and physically post a sign on their property stating, "No candy or treats at this residence."
It functions as an enforced public shaming mechanism, layered entirely on top of their actual legal sentence.
But the shaming is just the beginning. It gets so much darker when you look at housing restrictions.
Housing is a huge issue.
The sources outline a situation in Miami, Florida that feels almost dystopian. Local county ordinances made it virtually impossible for registered offenders to find legal housing.
Because of the distance rules.
Exactly. The laws stated they couldn't live within a certain distance of schools, parks, daycares, or bus stops. When you map that out in a dense city like Miami, there is literally nowhere left to live.
Nowhere.
It forced up to 140 registered offenders to live in a homeless colony under the Julia Tuttle Causeway, an entire community of offenders living off the grid under a bridge.
And to fully grasp the weight of that, we have to consider who exactly this system is pushing under that bridge.
Right. Who are these people?
The registry is not just populated by individuals like the one in our primary case study. The Adam Walsh Act, which is a federal law, pressured states to register juveniles by tying federal funding to compliance.
Wait. They tied state funding to putting kids on the registry?
Yes. And because of that financial leverage, local judges essentially lost their discretionary power. An algorithm of compliance replaced human nuance.
That's crazy.
Human Rights Watch actually investigated the fallout of this, and they found that juvenile convicts make up as much as 25% of all registrants.
A quarter of them.
A quarter. They documented cases of children as young as 9 years old being put on public registries.
A 9-year-old on a public registry? For what?
Often for peer experimentation or maybe sharing a photo with a classmate. Actions that are obviously deeply concerning and require intervention, but actions that are fundamentally different from the behavior of an adult predator.
But the law doesn't see a difference.
No, the law classifies the resulting imagery identically.
Okay, I have to push back here because this is where the entire system seems to just collapse under its own weight for me.
Go ahead.
If the stated goal of Megan's Law and these registries is public safety, how is this actually achieving it? If we are legally cornering 140 people into a homeless encampment under a bridge in Miami, or if we are branding a 9-year-old child as a sex offender for the rest of their life,
Right.
are we actually making the community safer, or are we just taking a highly complex, nuanced societal problem and sweeping it into the shadows where we don't have to look at it?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, You are hitting on the exact fundamental tension of these laws.
Thank you.
The intent behind Megan's Law, which, remember, was named after a child who was tragically murdered by a repeat offender living across the street, the intent was pure community safety. It was designed to empower citizens with information.
Right, which makes total sense on paper.
But the execution has become a blunt instrument.
So what does this all mean for the effectiveness of the system?
It means we are engineering new vulnerabilities. When you apply broad, one-size-fits-all legislation to wildly different offenses, treating a violent serial predator the exact same as a teenager who shared a consenting yet legally illicit photomorph, you create massive collateral damage.
Yeah, you really do.
The aha moment here is that by designing a system focused purely on exile rather than rehabilitation, the law essentially engineered a geographic microcommunity of high-risk individuals in Miami.
Right under that bridge.
Exactly. They were entirely unmonitored, living off the grid, desperate, and stripped of housing, employment, and social integration. You don't eliminate the risk of recidivism by doing that.
You probably make it worse.
You dramatically increase it. You just concentrate the danger in the margins of society. It requires us to critically evaluate if maximum restriction truly equals maximum safety.
It's the invisible architecture we mentioned at the very beginning, but it's not just the AI servers scanning data, it's the laws themselves operating in the background, executing rigid algorithms.
That's a perfect way to summarize it.
And that's why this deep dive matters for you, listening right now. From a quiet road in Putnam County, to a line of AI code acting as an immune system, to laws that dictate whether a citizen can turn their porch light on during Halloween.
It's all connected.
These massive interconnected systems are running quietly in the background of our communities every single day. They are actively shaping who is free, who is watched, and who is locked away forever.
And this raises an important question about the future of that architecture, one that builds on everything we've discussed today.
What's that?
If an artificial intelligence like ChatGPT is now capable of autonomously flagging material, recognizing a digital signature, and initiating a real-world chain of events that culminates in a human being receiving 5 life sentences,
Right.
where exactly is the line between digital privacy and an automated moral police force? As this technology scales and becomes even more integrated into our infrastructure, will AI one day transition from being the initial tipster
So what?
to being the primary witness in our courtrooms?
Oh, wow. That is a deeply unsettling thought, and definitely one that is going to keep me up tonight. The invisible detective is already here, and it never sleeps.
No, it doesn't.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the architecture of justice and digital surveillance. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share this deep dive with a friend, and follow the show. We will catch you next time.